All right, so I want to share a quick thought with you in regard to something that has been popularized, right, in the last couple decades in our culture, right? And when I say our culture, I don't mean necessarily the American culture. I mean just specifically or more broadly the Western culture, right? Now, it goes something like this. Say you're having a conversation with someone in regards to the topic of God, right, or spirituality or religion or theology, and you'll ask them if they do believe in God, right? And so they may dismiss something like the Christian conception of God, or even more broadly again, the Judeo-Christian conception of God, something like theism, and they'll say something like, I believe the universe is God, right? They'll say, I believe in higher power such that the universe itself is God, something like that. Or the universe is trying to tell me something, right? So this is where this comes in, this thought I want to share with you. And I'm going to read this off to you. It was a few moments ago, right? And now, in interest of full disclosure, this wasn't a few moments ago. I wrote this, I don't know, some time ago, right? But it was only a few moments ago that I overheard a couple having something of a heated argument. And this is a 100% true story. Of course, this is neither here nor there in regard to the subject at hand. Nonetheless, this was the context in which I heard the latest manifestation of the statement mentioned in the post's title, right? And the post is, the universe is trying to tell me something. Now, this post, at least for the present moment, does not have its intent to serve as a full-on philosophical argument against such statements. However, it does serve to lay down an initial thought that would serve as the foundation to one as such. And again, I want to clarify that, meaning that this is one reason among many that I don't think it makes any sense to say that the universe is God. Now, the young man in the middle of his tirade claimed that, quote, the universe is trying to tell me, ... right? And of course, the young female, his either spouse or his girlfriend or whoever there, claimed that, quote, but perhaps the universe is trying to say ... right? So you've got the one guy, on one hand, the guy saying the universe is trying to say blah, 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 and the other girl, or the girl is trying to say, yeah, but maybe the universe is trying to blah, 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 right? Now, from past experience, I know that this was not a mere figure of speech, right? But coincides with their Weltanschauung, right? Or worldview, right? That is to say, that's the way in which they view reality, right? They really think this. Even so, I believe it remains silly. For instance, one might ask, and again, here's the key question here, what is the universe? What's the universe? I would argue that I look at something in front of me, say this chair to my right over here, right, that globe, right? Clearly, this is at least part of the universe. Does this chair say anything at all, right? Or this globe over here, or behind me, this bookshelf, right? Does that say anything at all? Of course not. It's as Bertrand Russell said at one point, a collocation of atoms, right? A collocation of atoms possessing the form of a chair, or the form of a globe, or the form of a bookshelf, or whatever, right? But it does not say anything. It doesn't say anything because only personal agents, again, that's key, only personal agents say anything. Now, does that beg the question? Perhaps, right? You'll just have to think through that yourself. But if one cannot put forth an actual example of a non-personal, non-sentient, existing thing that speaks or guides, then I will assume the stronger premise to be that only personal agents say or speak anything, right? In any meaningful sense of the term. That is to say that if anything is meaningful, if it means anything when we say somebody has spoken or said or guided me in some way, then it's only personal agents that do that, right? I think that's just a stronger premise on the face of it, right? And then even again in depth, but we won't even get into that at this point. Now, suppose I pair two of these chairs together, right? Say I get the chair, that chair right there and the one I'm sitting in, let's say I put them together, right? Or I actually even have two globes. Say I put that globe and the globe over here in front of me, let's say I put those together, right? Even still, though I did add a chair to the mix, they still don't say anything or lead me to do anything. Two chairs are just as much an impersonal agent, that is, non-personal, than one chair. Suppose for good measure I add another chair So I add this chair to this chair and then toss in the recliner over there, right? I make a big pile of chairs, right? Now, suppose for good reason I add another chair, perhaps even a pile of dirt, right? So now I throw a little dirt on top of my pile of chairs, and a corn cob, and a rabbit pellet, and that globe over there. I pile all of these things up now. Now there's a pile of stuff, right? I'm not sure how adding other material, non-personal, existing things, but non-personal, would provide this new pile of stuff with the ability to speak or to guide, right? I imagine that we could add more and more to our pile, all of the existing things, all of the collocation of atoms with whatever form they possess, until we have added all of that which just is the universe. Do you get what I'm saying? So if we just keep adding junk to our pile, right? And not even necessarily junk, right? But we had good things like that book right there on philosophy. Let's say that we throw that in there, right? Good stuff. Let's say, just piles and piles of non-personal things. We could add all of those things together until we just have the universe itself, right? In principle. I imagine that we could add more and more to our pile, all the existing things, collocation of atoms, with whatever form they possess, until we have added all of that which just is the universe. But if small piles of things within the universe do not seem to have the ability to speak, lead, guide, etc., then why should one believe that by increasing that pile with all existing things that compose the universe, why I think that that would provide any more reason to believe that that would have the ability to speak, lead, guide, etc.? Now, one might answer, and I know where you're going with this, one might answer that this larger pile includes human beings and other advanced primates that do have the ability to speak, lead, guide, etc. Well, sure it would. But that would only be admitting, get this, that's only going to, and if that's the case, then you're only going to admit that it's personal agents that possess the ability to speak, lead, guide, that sort of thing. Or one might charge that I'm committing something like the fallacy of composition. Namely, that which makes up the parts of the universe may not be personal agents, but that does not entail that the universe as a whole may not be greater than the sum of its parts. This could open the possibility that the universe as a whole is personal. However, I just do not see that this objection would work either. Sure, there are times that the fallacy of composition does and should apply. All of the parts of the elephant are light, right? Therefore, the elephant as a whole must be light. Well, that's surely false. But which, by the way, that's an example of the fallacy of composition there. But just how would the fallacy be appropriate or applicable here in regard to the universe without it being a mere assertion? One would have to draw some sort of logical connection discounting any relation between the apparently essential abilities of non-personal agents and personal agents. In other words, if we are simply claiming that it is the nature of non-personal things to be non-personal, and from all that we actually observe, right, that seems to be more than justified, then it's not fallacious to say that, quote, adding more of them together will not produce something contrary to its nature or contrary to what it is, right? For example, if every part of the elephant is gray, then the whole elephant is gray. And if every existing thing that exists, a non-personal collection of atoms possessing some form, is piled together, or simply left where they are for the moment for all practical purposes, as we see, it would seem to remain the case that the universe just is a non-personal collocation of atoms, or a pile of them, right, as well. But again, if 10 chairs, or 10 rocks, or 10 mountains, and 10 frog turds, assuming that frogs make turds, right? If those don't have the ability to speak, lead, or guide, then why should a trillion of them be able to do so, right? Collectively. I would argue that this just is what the universe is, logically speaking, minus some sort of equivocation. And if this is true, then it would therefore be nonsense to claim that, quote, the universe is trying to tell you anything at all. The universe just doesn't say or lead anything just because of what it is. It would just not be that kind of thing, right? The universe just isn't that kind of thing that leads, speaks, guides, and whatever else. if and only if personal agents and sentient beings do as much, and the universe is not one of them, then clearly the universe does not say, lead, or guide any person. Or possible bad news for universe devotees, right? Let's say that there's a religion called the universe devotee clan or whatever. So the bad news for those guys would be, what if the universe is trying to tell you something, but it's actually this? And then so you can actually look at a link, maybe I'll put it in this video here, where Neil deGrasse Tyson talks about how the universe is trying to kill you all the time, right? With comets and meteor showers and tsunamis and earthquakes and all kinds of cosmic solar happenstances, right, that are going on that would actually kill you if didn't seem to be some sort of intervening agency there, right? Now, lastly, almost all of this, all the most scientifically credible and even stronger philosophical positions affirm that the universe actually came into being. So this is a really key point here. Think about this again. Lastly, almost all of the most scientifically credible and even stronger philosophical positions affirm that the universe actually began to exist, right? That it came into being. That is, that the universe did not exist, and then the universe did exist. It came into existence. If that's true, then why ought I listen to the universe as opposed to whatever it is or whatever it was that brought it forth? Right? Wouldn't that be the greater authority? If the universe has to depend upon something for its very existence, well, wouldn't it make sense that that thing, whatever you want to call that brought the universe into being, that would be the greater authority, right? And that would be what I would listen to, if I'm going to listen to anything at all, right? But it does seem possible that God, if theism is correct, being an actual personal agent, right? Because we were talking about earlier, what seems to speak, lead, guide, all those sorts of things would be personal agents, right? So it does seem possible that God, if theism is correct, that is to say if God exists, then God could lead, speak, or guide, right? Because he, in some sense, right, analogously speaking here, would be a personal type of being, which seems to be what they actually want without actually wanting it, right? So the people that want the universe to speak and say things, it seems like they're really looking for God. They really want God to exist without actually wanting all of those troublesome moral connotations that believing in God or postulating God's existence would carry along with it. Now, kiss my grits, but that seems to be a little more intuitive. Peace out.